All right, good morning. It's Saturday. This is Fonz here with Evangels MC. About to come at you with another little segment here. We had been talking the last couple of weeks about our freedom, the quarantine, self-quarantine, self-unquarantining, and the controversy of being real and true. And so, for a lot of people, we had mentioned before that, the truth nowadays is controversial, and so it gets to people and people get all upset about it. But the truth of the matter is that we got to keep, pressing forward and doing our thing. I had mentioned before, you can always visit us on our webpage at evangelsmc.org, or you can visit our Facebook and Instagram page, Evangels MC, and you can take a look at what we're doing in the community that we're serving right now. Now, our community is in the Barstow area, California. Barstow, California. It's the high desert. If you look it up, you can see what it is. Now, we're not exclusive to Barstow. We're not exclusive to any one community, but we do like to finish up the projects that we're working on in the areas that we're in. And so I was in Mexico just about 18 to 24 months ago, and we had some projects out there. We were taking a look at the border situation because back then it was about the border and illegal immigration and all this other nonsense that was going on then. That's what the media had been selling everybody. And so I went to go see firsthand what it was like, over at the border, and day in and day out dealing with the people that were coming in the caravans. And so, we are serious about what we do. We like to investigate for ourselves what's being said and what's being done. We're not a news channel. We are a ministry, and so we do go out and take care of business too. And so we also help individuals and even businesses, LLCs and other organizations improve their processes. And so we get it. We get into a few things. We do building. Right now we're assisting a home. We're getting the tile done. We're changing out furniture and painting and all kinds of things. This is something that this family really wanted, and not so much just wanted, they really absolutely needed it. They had been dealing with the same furniture for a long time, and most of us will have furniture for 10, 15, 20 years. It is what it is. But this house needed a lot of work. It was becoming a hazard, and we went ahead and donated all of our time. They just ended up having to take care of the materials in this one. And so there's times we can do that. There's times that we have other things that we got to get into. And so it just really depends. So anyways, we're here, to serve those in our community in any which way we can. We can point you in the right directions if there's something that we can't do ourselves, or we can't acquire within our organization as far as assistance. And so, but we do deal with the area of finance. We do financial planning. We do financial health. Some places call it financial university. We assist in those things too, helping you get your credit back. There's all kinds of things that we get into as a ministry. And so we you name it, we basically deal with it in some form or another. And if not, we have others that we are connected with through our organization and our members to be able to assist in those areas. And so you might not see me in all the cases. You might see somebody else come up, an accountant or something like that, come to your assistance, but it's still part of our ministry and what we're doing. So, right now, we're coming to a point where it looks like the weather is getting warmer, and we're starting to see more and more doctors speak up, which is great, fantastic. I've been getting spit on and yelled at and screamed at, and people looking at me like I'm a criminal because I don't wear a mask, and I choose not to wear a mask, and telling me, oh, you're gonna die, and trying to curse me and tell me all these things, and it's like, well, if you want to walk in the little faith that you have, that's completely up to you. If you don't want to risk your life because you think you're not going to die, that's completely up to you. That has nothing to do with what I want to do, and it has nothing to do with what I believe. And so it might be radical to a lot of people. I know that the country and the countries that people will have the argument and the objection, because this really is all it comes down to is objection. And it's objectional, and it's subject to interpretation. And so, when it all came down, a lot of people don't have any clue of how viruses work, how bacteria work. And then you start having people that have no clue that all of a sudden become experts, and they're starting to give out false information, incorrect information, putting an onion outside your house and the onion's gonna save you, and all these things, and all these ideas. And people have ideas, which is great. It's important that we be able to speak up on our ideas and come out with a situation that we're feeling. I understand, as an example, that you're fearful. I understand it. I understand that you're afraid for your life. I understand it. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to fall into that category with you. I'm not going to be that person that's going to join you in your fear. It's just not going to be something that I do. And then someone will say, well, yeah, this pastor over here, he believed and he went out and he died of the virus. It's like, right or wrong, people are always going to be people. We understand this. We're not telling you to do anything out of your comfort zone. One of the biggest things is this. When we're riding in packs, I'm going to talk to the motorcycle community here in a minute. And so this is just an example. And I use examples because it's the best way. I have found that I've gotten more across with examples of what I've learned in my life, and they tend to help other people get through situations, and it's not because I'm an expert in I look like somebody I recognize. And anyways, it's not because I claim to be an expert, or I claim to be yada, yada, yada. No, I've lived it. I've experienced it firsthand in my life. And so I'm speaking on those things that I've experienced in my life. I'm 42 years old, so I've lived a little. When I was 20 years old, I thought that I lived a whole bunch, but then now I'm 40 years old, and it's like, now I'm looking at 20 like, wow, And every time that we move into a different age group, we start to realize more and more how much we didn't know. But then at the same time, we realize how much we do know through life experience, if we've experienced life at all. Some are recluse, and this is what's happening right now with a lot. And again, it's not judgment on those things. To each their own. Les Brown talked about it just a few days ago. He was talking about how just to each their own. And I tend to try to listen to not those people that are around me that are in fear and those things. I tend to listen to those people that are doing other things other than being afraid. And so, meaning that it's not a real situation. There's doctors. I posted up a thing yesterday with some doctors out in Santa Barbara. These they own like 7 or 8 of these what do they call them here in the high desert? Mike's walk-in clinics. He owns these doctors own these clinics, and the doctors they're seeing patients on a daily. Now, one of the biggest things, and one of the reasons I even decided to share the information that these doctors were talking about, because it's 2 situations that I was talking about before, and they're hitting it right on the nail. I mean, they're hitting the nail right on the butt, right? And the doctor was saying that Dr. whoever this is, that was the head of the task force of whatever task force they call it, in the White House or whatever it is, at the federal level. Again, we're dealing with human beings. Number one, we have to understand we're dealing with human beings. Number one. So when someone comes to me and they tell me they're an expert, number one, I'm looking at a human being first. I'm dealing with another person first. I don't care how many degrees you have. I don't care about any of that. It makes nothing. It doesn't do anything for me. Back when I was growing up, I used to think, okay, I need to get my associate's degree, I need to get my bachelor's degree, I need to get my PhD. And I used to think like that because that was the program that they were selling us on. That's the program that they sell us on. Now, I'm not saying education is not important. Education is extremely important, and it's important to educate yourself because knowledge is power. Knowledge is true power. Power over what? Power over fake news, over fake situations. And it's not saying that this virus is fake. It killed over 40,000 people in our country alone. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. The president says it. I say it. So many other people say it. Even one is too many. But it caught us. It caught us. We were off guard. We were off guard. And I say we, mainly the people that we have in leadership. And this is where it's time to start paying attention. We have elections coming up. Now, you can get upset. I know. I've been in your circles. I understand that I upset you and you don't want me around and you don't like the way that I talk and I make you feel a certain way and you're catching certain feelings. But see, there has to be a time where we become emotionally intelligent. And so if you can't handle your emotions and you allow your emotions to get the best of you, see, if I allowed my emotions to get the best of me when I'm dealing with some of you in the circles that I'm dealing with, because a lot of the times I'm dealing with leadership. Actually, 99% of the time I'm dealing with leadership, and with leadership of other places. And it's like, well, who do you think you are? And it's like, well, who do you think you are? It goes back and forth. And see, we can sit there and have an argument about who do we think we are, right? But when it's someone that's coming to you and telling you that, look, there's a better way of doing this, and you're obviously 100% against it, without even trying it, there's a problem. It's just like a child when you tell them you need to eat some of this broccoli. Oh, no, I don't want it. Have you ever had this broccoli before? Oh, no, but I just know I'm not going to like it. And it's like we grown people that are that have an age, but in here, they're still dealing with all these things. And so when we're dealing with leadership, right now, yeah, we have elections coming up. But we're so distracted with everything else that's going on that we don't like the way that someone is telling us. In this case, the president that we have right now, we don't like the fact that he's telling us these things, the way that he's telling us these things. I'm not saying we, as in I'm agreeing with you. I don't agree with most of you because most of you are listening to the news. And I can't agree with the news because the news is full of shit. It's as simple as that. Now, if we can get past the fact that I use certain words to make an expression, then we can start seeing things. This is no different than with the president. There's certain words that he's using, word tracks. We call them word tracks in the sales force, right? This is a salesman, right? He's a professional. He's been doing this for a lot longer than many of you. And then a lot of people will say, well, he's a disgrace. Well, President Clinton was a disgrace. Obama was a disgrace. Their family was a disgrace. Oh my God, I can't believe you're talking about him. Well, I can tell you right now, no family that's ever been in the presidency has never not been a disgrace in some form or another. And so you can look at the history yourself. In some form or another, someone committed some kind of mistake. In some form or another. You can talk about Kennedy. It doesn't matter. But it's a distraction. It's a distraction from the point. And the point is that we need to start seeing as a country what we need to do to make sure that even those that are in leadership don't fail us in that area, in the areas that are important. Have your political mumbo jumbos. I get it. I understand. If I'm trying to win an election, if I'm trying to win something, I'm going to do everything that I can to win. Now, I won't sit there and slander somebody and get to the point where, they've gotten with the last elections and all those other things. Are the Clintons this, or the Trumps this? It's like, it's just disgusting. It's a disgusting situation. And it's like, if we stop being so selfish and we realize that our children are watching this. I heard a couple of kids the other day, talking about how the news was talking about this and that. It's like, stop watching the news. Why are your kids watching the news? Kids should be living a life of playing and doing whatever they have the opportunity to do right now as kids, because sooner or later they're going to get old and grown like us, and they're going to have to deal with the nonsense that we didn't even know about until we started dealing with it with ourselves, like having to pay bills and credit and all this other nonsense that we have to deal with, that we created for ourselves. There's no reason a child should be watching the news. But anyways, that's parenting, 101. That's another topic for another day. It's difficult. It's difficult because there's so many different pieces to the puzzle. And so the same thing with immigration. There's so many pieces to the puzzle, and we try to generalize it because nobody wants to put their feet in and work. That's the truth. It's work. It takes hours, days, months of constant pressure and work to get things done. You'll have people saying no to you. You'll have a couple of people maybe say yes. But mainly, it's always going to be negative first. That's just what the people around us are dealing with, because they focus on the negative. I heard the other day, as a sister said the other day, she's like, I just, the news, it's just, the news said the other day. It's like, oh my gosh. I'm already disconnected from that conversation, but I have to stay engaged because I have to respect the fact that this is another brain that I'm dealing with, and the seeds that are being planted into this brain. And so I have to do my due diligence. The Lord has put us in this position for that reason. And so then now we're dealing with these doctors that are coming out and they're saying, look, we don't find any evidence of what Dr. Fauci or Fauci or whatever his name is, is saying. Now, if we just slow down a little bit, take a breath. Now, those of us that are professionals that have dealt with medical and understand what the doctors are saying, we get it. But it's hard for those of you that have never had any experience and really are closed-minded, is what it comes down to. Because you have experience. You have life skills and life experience. But because you see the title first, it completely clouds your judgment. And so what happens is this. The doctors are saying, it's very simple and it's very basic. The fact that Dr. Fauci or whatever his name is was a immune, they call him an immune expert and whatever. Everybody likes to be an expert. And so he's an expert. He was an expert, or he claims to continuously be an expert. And I'm gonna throw something at you guys right now. And this is the truth. But he hasn't been in practice for over 20 years. He hasn't dealt with the patient in over 20 years. So watch. In 20 years, a lot of things changed. I just talked about it. And it's all going to come together here in a few minutes. In 20 years, we can all agree that something has changed in your life. When I was 20 years old, my mind was different than right now that I'm 40. If you're 60, when you were, 40, if you're 80, when you were 60, whatever it is, whatever age group, whatever age you are at the moment. And if you're young, if you're 20, then, then just take it back 5 years ago. You don't even got to go that far. Even a year ago, things have changed. A year ago, we were talking about immigration and the border. And we had the National Guard, and we had military at our borders, putting a military at our borders, and the focus was military. militarizing our borders. A year ago, the conversation was totally different. 20 years ago, medical practices were totally different than they are now. The advancements that we have, there's so much advance. I mean, it's apples to oranges from 20 years ago. The advancements that we have. Some things have stayed the same. Some things are very basic, like viruses and those things, you know. But there's some things that are totally the same, that haven't changed in over 3,000, 4,000 years. Some things are very basic. And this doctor hasn't had a patient in front of him in over 20 years. The doctors that are on the field right now, and see, I've been telling some of you this. I've been telling some of you this. The doctors that have been on the field every single day dealing with patients on a daily. Now, these doctors themselves have dealt with whatever the testing that they've done. Their numbers, I don't know what the numbers are exactly. I was just getting the information the last few days. But the information that they got, I mean, the numbers that they have are mind-boggling. They're just astronomical as far as what they've dealt with in their clinics. They have seen pretty much everything that you can see right now coming into their clinic, because it's coming into their clinic. They're dealing with it on the field, day in and day out. The difference between field doctors and this doctor that's up here that used to be a field doctor, and he may have been a really good field doctor at one point in his career, is now that he's no longer on the field, he's an overseer, and he has no experience in this situation. It's obvious because nobody had any experience with this until recently. It's something that's not so new, but it's new. And so things that are coming into the clinic are not the same things that were coming into the clinic 20 years ago. So he's basing it off of the experience that he has with the studies and the time and the life, effort, all these things. It's no different than anything else. This is why it's so difficult to be in any kind of position that has to deal with leadership. I retired from the construction business 7 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. Back in 2006, right before the crash. I shook the boss's hand. I said, hey, look, I appreciate everything. It's time for me to move on and to start my own business again, right? I learned everything that I was supposed to on that situation, and I did everything that we were supposed to. We made a lot of money together. You know, I assisted them in making a ton of money. You know, they made more money than me, but, you know, like a lot of the great salespeople, you help others get first, and then you will eventually receive. And so it was time for me to move on, right? And so then now I'm back on the field. And so now that I'm back on the field, you know, I'm going and I'm buying tile. I'm doing the same. It's like riding a bike, they say, right? Except this bike now, you know, has, instead of 10 gears, it has 25 gears. And then, you know, you don't have the twisters no more. Now you got these little buttons that you can push, and it does all, it's just totally different. The same principles, the same everything. It's got gears and all this stuff, but it's changed some. Same thing. I'm going and I'm buying tile, and I'm buying material. The basic fundamentals of the task is the same. But being in the field, we're starting to see that there's different even baseboards, different kinds of materials, improved materials, you know, improved even mortar. I mean, all kinds of stuff, right? It's improved. Now, for those that have stayed in the field, they've been a part of it and gradually been getting into it and changing up and those things. But when you're this far away, you can't even see it in the recording. You're right. When you're that far away, you have to relearn some things because you're back on the field. You're back on the field. And so we put all this weight on past experience. Yes, great. But once I'm back on the field, I realize that there are some things that are improvement, and I need to listen to those people around me that are saying, hey, look, oh yeah, no, we have this kind of laminate flooring now, and back in the day, laminate flooring was, it was okay. It was, for us, it was as professionals, laminate flooring was the cheap route. I guess now laminate flooring is what people want to do. And laminate flooring was like, it's cheap. You don't want it's better to always go with tile. It's more heavier duty, blah, blah, blah. Now they have laminate, and then it was like a new technology. And so then the laminate, you laid the laminate, and then it was creaky and it made a lot of noise. And now they have, this new patented type of laminates that you can walk on and you can't hear your footsteps. It's quiet. It's there's even like these thermal laminates or something where they help keep the temperatures down in your house. And I mean, there's all this new stuff. It's great stuff. And so it's not that I don't know, it's just that there's new stuff. And so then I have to deal with these new things. I have to learn about these new things and reprogram the things that I'm talking about, so that way I'm able to offer my services in a better and broader way, because now we don't have to just focus on, it's either tile or vinyl. That's kind of the options that we used to have 10, 15 years ago. Vinyl or tile, and so, or wood flooring, but real wood flooring, right? And so, it was too expensive to get into the other ones because there wasn't really any. I mean, there was a lot of reasons. I'm not going to get into that. I started getting into that, and I started talking a bunch of other stuff. And so, anyways, the whole thing here is that so these doctors are speaking out, not speaking against. See, this is the whole problem with so many. It's like we get so negative. We want to fight. We want to fight everybody. And it's like, and I say you, not me. I ain't trying to fight nobody. I'm always fighting because we keep missing the mark. And the thing is that people will say, yeah, we're in this together. No, we're not. I've been saying it over and over again. We're not in this together. We're not. You're lying.